Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's masterclass on how does a business become intelligent. This is Dr. Sravoshi Basu. I will be your instructor for today. I have been with Great Learning for about 4 years now. Before that, I was associated with industry as well as academia in various capacities. I taught in US, I taught in India. I was with the Indian Statistical Institute for a considerable time, and then I had moved into business. My background is in statistics, therefore, analytics is a normal corollary to that. Today, we are going to talk about how best to add value to the business, the why and how of business intelligence. We have 4 point agenda. What is business intelligence? What are the benefits of business intelligence? We will consider 3 application areas. They are illustrative because there is no limit to the areas and the applications for business analytics in various ways and means. Talk about business, talk about policy making, basically everything that we do these days should be guided by what comes under the umbrella of business intelligence. And finally, we will touch upon the technology behind them, the application areas and the technology. Again, they are considerably large, and we can talk about these things months after months. But today, within this short period, I will just try to touch upon the most important things on them. So, what is business intelligence? As you see, this person is trying to push a square peg in a round hole. Will it ever work? No. And this is exactly what business intelligence is all about. It helps to take better informed decisions backed up with data. So there are 2 key points here. One is better informed decision and accurate data. First comes data, then come decision, but to some extent it's also a chicken and egg problem because unless you make conscious decision regarding data, you may not have accurate data on your business. And what do we do once we get the data? The ultimate goal here is to extract actionable insight from the data because to succeed in business, we have to have strategic decisions powered by the data we have accumulated over a period of time, but data itself sitting somewhere is not going to help me to make actionable insight. So, what do we need to do with the data? We have to apply software and algorithm to extract the insight from the data, which is going to help me to make strategic decisions. So, to put these in a nutshell, business intelligence helps to make better informed decisions, which is backed up by accurate data. We may call them data driven decisions. And these decisions are focused on extracting actionable insight. As you can see, this must have some benefits. What are they? Of course, they improve the decision making process. But how? Number one, easy access to data. Data must be somewhere where I can access them very easily, where I can share data across the enterprise. So it will not be somewhere in a very esoteric place where nobody but one or two persons in your whole organization will know how to access the data. No, that's not going to help. After all, data is actually what will drive my business. So it must somewhere where the access is easy and sharing of data is easier. At the same time, this will help to make real time analysis, to make real time decisions. Why? Just think of an organization of any size. There is marketing, there is sales, there is operations, and everybody is trying to solve some problems that they are facing on that particular day. Now, there are always going to be bottlenecks if all these parts of the organization are working in silos. There will be wastage in the system because different people, different groups will be reinventing the wheel. They will not be taking advantage of what the other groups have done. So basically, instead of working together in the whole organization, making it one and whole, everybody thinks that what they are doing is more important than everybody else. Therefore, there will be bottlenecks, there will be wastages, there will be time losses, and what have you. Unless everybody can share the data, everybody can do real time analysis, or at least if they cannot do the analysis by themselves, they have access to the analysis or the results of the analysis. This is not going to help the enterprise. So, these are the two main benefits of BI. The decision making is going to be smooth, it's going to take less time, and everybody will have access to the same information system, so that instead of different parts trying to move into their different directions, everything will come together and move in the same direction. Essentially, BI will help you understand your business in the main way. Now we will talk about some examples. There, as I said, there are many ways, many application areas of the business intelligence. We will be talking about only three areas. Why these three? Because this is something we see always when we go to a store, when we try to buy airlines ticket, when we try to reserve our hotel bookings, when we want to go traveling. So I have picked up only three examples. We will try to discuss them in some detail because this is something we are used to seeing all the time. The first example is on airlines and hospitality industry, airline seats and hotel bookings, hotel rooms. So they operate in to some extent in the same fashion. What do they have to sell? Airlines have their seats to sell and hotels have their rooms to sell. Now, as you understand, both seats and rooms, they are perishable quantity. Perishable not in the sense that when we do grocery marketing, we buy some fruits and vegetables, and if we do not consume them within a certain time, they are going to rot. Or if we do not use the medication within a certain time, it's going to perish. I have to throw it away. It is not perishable in that sense, but the sense here is that once a flight is gone, once a flight has left Delhi to go to Mumbai, the seats of that flight cannot be sold anymore. So it is a time bound thing. Maybe 1 hour before the flight takes off, you still can sell some seats, but not after the flight has taken off. So if there are any unused vacant seats in that flight, the company will not get any revenue out of that. Same thing for the hotel rooms. Again, if rooms are vacant for that night, then they are gone. There is no way the hotel will be able to get any revenue out of those rooms. So, both airlines and hospitality have perishable commodities they want to sell. The goal is to maximize revenue. And how to maximize revenue? For airlines, if they can sell all seats in that particular flight, if it is fully booked, and they can charge the maximum amount possible for each and every seat, then for that particular flight, revenue will be maximized. Same thing about the hotel. There are rooms to sell. The hotel want fully booked for all nights they are going to be in business. If there are conference rooms, if there are restaurants and other functions that the hotel is going to hold, then of course they want everything, all their services to be fully booked every night. If that happens, then that is the maximum revenue they can aim to get. Problem is that's not going to happen. Why not? Because there is not one airline that is in service. There are competing airlines. There is Indigo, there is SpiceJet, there is Air India, there is Air Asia, you name it, and even in India where number of airlines are not maybe as many as some of the foreign countries like US or in Europe, still if I charge 10,000 rupees for a seat from Delhi to Mumbai, then one competing airlines will charge 9,000 rupees and I will lose business. At the same time, if to undercut my competition, I want to charge 5,000 rupees for every seat Delhi to Mumbai, it may be so low that I will not be able to cover the cost of the flight, the cost of the crew, and all the services I am going to offer to my passengers, and I'm going to lose money. Therefore, revenue maximization is not absolute maximization, but it has to be under some constraints. Therefore, the price point of every airline seat, price point of every hotel room, you have to take a decision about them, and that will change from flight to flight, from day to day, from time to time. The early morning flights may be cheaper because people does not like to travel very early in the morning or very late at night. Therefore, I can expect less number of bookings for those seats. But during the middle part of the day, since demand is high, I may charge more money for those seats. Therefore, this is a very important subject of decision making, what price each airline will charge for each and every seat in each and every flight. And the same thing for the hotel. To make an informed decision, What will be the optimum price for these? I have to have some data. What kind of data do I want to look at? I want to study what was happening in the past. Not very long past maybe, but for past few years, not an overall study, but by month, by day of week, because people might want to travel more on Mondays or on Fridays, either because they are coming back to their hometown or they are going somewhere, they want to come and join their office on Monday. After Friday work, they are going to their home, they are going for vacation. So these may be the high demand days. Similarly, middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, the demand may not be that high. So every day of the week, as well as every hour of departure, every month, if there is any special event in either where the flight is originating or where the flight destination is, if there are any events like that, there may be more demand, and I may want to charge more. These are all considerations from the airlines itself. Add to that the change in economy, where people will like to travel more by airlines where they cannot afford to go by airline. So all of these considerations come into airline pricing. Whenever I talk about airlines pricing, the same thing happens for hospitality industries because they are revenue management for these two industries are very, very similar. Then there will always be competition, not one, but more than one competition, and they will not divulge their revenue management strategy with you. Therefore, you have to make some good guesses about what they may or may not do. So, all of these things should be considered under the data. This is what goes into the enterprise database. Very detailed information with on each flight, on each passenger, if they are loyalty member, if they are old customers, everything goes into the data. And once you are able to analyze the data, the insight that comes to you is differential pricing, the optimum price that you can charge for each and every seat. Many of you may know that middle seats, you can book the overweight check-in, you can get the middle seats without paying anything else. But if you want a window seat or an aisle seat, you have to pay some extra money. All of these decisions are based on industry's experience with the data, study of how the industry was growing, how the business was performing over the past years. So, what is the differential pricing? And this is something we all know that if I book a ticket 1 month before the date of departure, 3 weeks before the date of departure, the price is lower. The closer I come to the date of departure or closer I come to the night I am going to stay in a hotel, the price increases. At the same time, this also happens that if there are some vacant rooms in a hotel, some unsold seats in a particular flight, it is possible that they may offer those commodities at a very, very low price because they are going to take off. The day will be over without those seats being sold, without those rooms being occupied, Therefore, even if I give those commodities at half price or even 30% off discount, I can make some money. It is not going to be any loss than I am already incurring. The airlines industries are actually the very first ones who moved into business intelligence. They defined what revenue management is. My next example is on retail business. This is also something that we encounter often enough. For many of the retail business, you can think of clothes, you can think of cosmetics or anything like that. The goal here is to sell maximum number of items within a certain time. Why? Because the space in my shop, the space in my warehouse is limited. Whatever I have ordered, whatever I have stored in my shop or in my warehouse, unless I clear them out, I will not be able to restock. Okay, that means either if my stock gets very old, and it could be the clothes may go out of fashion, the cosmetic items may go, they may perish. Usually for almost all cosmetic items there is an expiry date, so they will perish. I will not get anything out of them. Therefore, unless I clear something out, I will not get the new items. I will not be able to increase the price of these items. Therefore, the goal is to sell maximum number of items. How do I sell them? Of course, there has to be a marketing strategy, and to develop a proper marketing strategy, I have to understand my customer. Who comes to my store? What kind of people do I cater to? Not all people of all different ages will buy similar things. Some will buy old fashioned clothes because they may be senior people. The younger generation will buy the very newest type of item. Cosmetics, some are pricey, some are middle level, some are branded, some are generic. Depending on the customer profile, depending on their demographic, depending on their economic status, I want to advertise different set of things to different people. That means instead of going for generic advertising, let's say advertisement on the TV, that caters to everybody. It does not identify customer groups by their defining property. That is very expensive and very less accurate. If I can use my data on customer profile, their buying pattern, how often they come to my store, buying frequency, what do they buy, what is the price point, whether they are price elastic or not. Price elasticity means if I increase the prices 10%, do I see a drop of 10%, 10% less sale, or maybe 20% less sale, or my sale amount stays almost the same. So all of these things I need to know. And depending on that, I will devise my marketing strategy so that I can offer different items to different customers at different price points. Now that certainly does not mean that the same bottle of perfume I will give something to someone for rupees 200 and exactly the same thing to another customer for rupees 2000. That will never work and that is unethical. So, what do I mean for different customers at different price points? There comes the idea of bundling the products. That means I put some things together. I put a compact, I put a lipstick, I put some other perfume, some other cosmetic things in one bundle and offer it to one group of people. I make a different bundle and I offer these to a different bunch of people. So my prices vary, my bundles vary, and I can offer selective discounts. At the same time, these will help push my items, push my commodities off the shelf. The customer will be happy that they are getting several things at a lower price than what they would have paid if they were buying those things each and every item separately. The good thing in the store, what is the win-win situation? The store is able to push the items that will not be sold otherwise in the bundle and sell them off. But all this strategy depends very much on the customer profile and their buying pattern. Therefore, I need to understand my customers inside out. My third example is on telecom. This is something we have seen very often. We know that when Geo first came in the market, in Indian market, many of the other telecom providers lost ground under their feet because of the offering Geo was making. For telecom, retaining profitable customers is the goal. Their churn is a normal thing. Churn meaning I am working with one provider, but I want to go with somebody else. Therefore, I am churning from my current provider and I am going for a alternative service. Nobody wants customer churn. In particular, nobody wants churn for profitable customers. Sometimes you like to, as a telecom company, sometimes they like to let the non-profitable customers go. But the profitable customers who take their service, who are not the lowest consumers of the lowest amount of services, but if they go for many high end products, then these are the customers each and every telecom provider wants to keep in their fold. Therefore, the goal here is to retain the profitable customers, don't let them go. Need to identify who are profitable to me and who are not. Those who are not, I really don't care much for them. If they want to churn, I am not going to keep them, but I want to target the most profitable customers, identify and retain them because it is always much less costly to retain customers than make new customers. Very similar applications you will find in finance sector also for those organizations who provide insurance and other financial services, they like to keep the profitable customers with them. Nobody likes to have customer churn. So, what will be the useful data in this case, in particular for telecom? Of course, mobile usage, talk time, data usage, how much data do I use? Do I make video calls? Do I use a lot of WhatsApp? Do I do Facebook? Do I do Instagram? What is the total data consumption for me per day, per hour? What will be the speed of the data that I would like to have? Have I ever complained about data usage? What is my pain point? What are the competitors offer for a particular customers, whether the kind of service they expect from their current providers. Is any of the other competitors offering something like that, or even a better deal with less amount of money? All of these things, comparison of service, price, especially customer review. Has the customer made any complaint either to the service provider or in a somewhere in an open social media, maybe Facebook, maybe some other area, about how good or how bad their current telecom provider is? If so, this is something the telecom providers would like to know, and they do make effort to know what their customers are talking about. All of these things help them to understand what their customers want. To the extent possible, they try to offer personalized services according to their customers' needs. Those who use more data, they like to offer them better data package. For those who only talk on the mobile, and you can think of different demographic in our society who will do more talking vis-a-vis, who will use their mobile for checking emails, taking WhatsApp, to remain connected all across the globe. So depending on the actual necessity of each and every customer, the telecom provider would like to offer that service. Analysis of customer feedback is very, very important, because that enables the provider to take some action. It may be a preemptive action before, when the customers are talking. If you take a preemptive action, then they may not actually make a complaint, or they may not escalate the issue. So all of these are very, very important to stop the churn. If the business, especially for businesses who operate under cutthroat competition, all of these things are taken care of by their customer service person. This is something nobody was prepared for. Something like this is very, 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 very difficult to go back to your data and get actionable insight from there. So, what the airlines or hospitality industry can do at this point, and I am assuming you are talking about Indian scenario only, is very difficult to say. And as you know, that all the airlines industry are actually looking at bankruptcy, if not bankruptcy, but huge loss at some stage. Very difficult to say what will happen to them, because business intelligence, and later I'll talk a little bit about business analytics, they borrow strength from data. If data is not there, then they have to see what they can do at the current stage. For example, and this is something no airline will will come out of their planning at this stage, because everybody is almost at the same at the verge of a disaster. What, and in case of India especially, this is true that we have a lot of control even on the private airline. For example, you must have known that the DGCA said to keep the middle seats empty, the airlines point blank refused that. But they are willing to keep three rows from the back empty in case there is any symptomatic passenger. But essentially, they are trying to see which routes will be more profitable for them to operate at this time. For example, Delhi Mumbai, between Delhi and Mumbai, there was possibly 50 flights per day. That is probably the most one of the most important sector. So that would have been the first target for the airline. However, it so happens that both Delhi and Mumbai have the highest number of COVID patients at this time. Therefore, airlines are possibly looking at alternate routes where they can start at least a skeleton service. Unfortunately, all the profitable routes in case of India at least are the major cities, and all the major cities, Calcutta, Chennai, they are also at high risk categories. So the airlines will not be able to target them, at least to begin with. They cannot expect that those sectors are going to be profitable for them. So they might be thinking of going for smaller cities across the country. They are in business, they will be in business, and they will try to recoup some of the losses that they have made. Well, there are other ways to not to go into bankruptcy, and that is getting rid of some of your crew members, and some of that has also happened. But honestly, such a disaster that COVID 19 has been very difficult to be prepared. So, nobody was prepared, would be the correct guess here. After the situation improves even slightly, maybe around September, October time, the airlines will be trying to get back in business. They will start with skeleton services, and as I say, they will try the most profitable routes where traditionally they have had the most number of seats occupied. So this brings us to the last agenda item here, the technology behind successful business intelligence. The very first thing business intelligence depend on is a good, agile, solid, comprehensive database, enterprise-wide database. It is not a database in silo where marketing team keeps their data in a Excel sheet, and sales team keeps their data in a Salesforce, and operations just have piles of papers where they have made their things written down. A successful enterprise-wide database must take into account all the different segments of the industry, all the different segments must have access to the same database. That does not mean that every group will not have their data separate. They may enter the data separate, they may keep the data separate, but at some level, all the data must be talking to each other. And now we do not talk only about structured data, we also talk about unstructured data. What is unstructured data? Of course, comments, written comments, verbal comments, video, everything. Whatever you can think of is data. So enterprise-wide database that is intelligent enough to capture all relevant information is the very first step for a successful BI. Once the data is there, the next thing you want to do is to know what is in there. A huge big data set sitting idle is not going to add value to my business. Therefore, effective management information system, dashboard, etc. These are required to understand the current state of business at your fingertips. Ideally, as the data is being entered, it must go through a channeling process where the noise or the dirtiness in the data, missing data, etc., must be taken care of. The data must be clean and feed into a system where the managers or the users will be able to see, will be able to understand the current state of business in a very, very quick manner. It will not serve my purpose if after investing in a very good database, I have to wait 7 days to answer one of my simplest questions. Data is important, that is the first step. The second step is the MIS dashboard and a very fast speed how the data is being processed. Then comes the next step, which is business analytics. So the current status, the dashboard, tells me what happened yesterday. How do I know what's going to happen tomorrow? There comes the business analytics because I need to capture the actionable insight. Now, what is actionable insight? How do I learn from the data? It has to give me some control on the business. Now, what do I mean by the control on the business? Suppose I am doing a survey on agriculture. I want to know what is necessary to increase the yield of paddy. Now, after doing a very intense survey, if it so happens that to increase the yield of paddy, all we need is enough sunlight and enough rainwater, then that may be inside, but it may not be actionable inside because rain and shine, I do not control any of them. How can I how can I change that into an actionable insight? If I know that next year rain is not going to happen that much, if Mausam Bhavan from Delhi has predicted that rain will be only 95% of an average year, then the actionable insight for me will be to look for such a variety of paddy which will grow well even if there is less water. So you see how insight can be transformed into actionable insight. Actionable insight must be under my control so that I can have the reins of my business within my fingertips and I can control what I want to. Learning from the data must give me control on my business. How to do that? Here comes the training in various analytical methods. There are predictive models, there is machine learning, there is deep learning, there is artificial intelligence. All of these will come together to understand what's going to happen in the future. If I have seen, how do I analyze my data, what happened in the past? Once I look at various analytical methods, they will give me insight into the data that has already happened. And then I have to take it further into the future to understand what I may expect going forward. There comes all the analytical methods to bridge the gap. And finally, how everything comes together. This is understanding both the business and the analytical methods. They don't stand on their feet separately. I have to know my business well. I have to know the information or the actionable insight that these analytical methods are giving me. Only when I am able to interpret all the learnings in the light of my business, I will be able to implement the correct decision. In short, this is what the successful business intelligence or business analytics is going to be all about. What we have learned so far is that today business intelligence is vital for survival of a business. You cannot hope to survive in this day where data is available everywhere to make your business grow. Second point is business intelligence uses data to make data driven decisions. What are the other kinds of decisions? Isn't all decisions data driven? Unfortunately, no. Many businesses, even today, go by gut feeling. Gut feeling is good. They may not be completely ignored, but at the same time, you have to have access to the data. Data don't lie. So you have to see whether your gut feeling and the data is the past status of your business, whether they merge. If they do, then you know you are on the right track. Going by the opinion of the highest paid person in a business is a sure shot way to do because even the highest paid person may be a very, very smart person, but everybody has their limitation, everybody has their bias. The only thing to do here is to understand data and to have a very unbiased view of the data, very unbiased opinion of how to employ the data that is how to employ the analytical methods to the data that you have collected. Finally, the analytical tools, as I was saying, that you have to be smart enough to understand those analytical tools, to understand whether, since there are many, many tools, you have to be intelligently applying those tools to the data that you have gathered. Your knowledge about your own business will tell you how to distinguish between the good from the bad and how to implement the actionable insight from the data. Everybody is using data. For example, there are multiple websites which is giving you the course of this pandemic. There is one website that I check personally, that is the COVID-19india.org. They have data from the beginning of this pandemic. If I am not mistaken, I think their data starts from January, and that's how you get to know that 30th January, the first COVID case happened in India, that too in Kerala. Every day and many time points within the day, almost continuously, they try to update their website. It is a crowdsourced organization, and you can go there to see how it is progressing. Now, what is actionable in this fight against COVID-19? Of course, one action is to understand how this pandemic is progressing. When shall we reach the peak, and when shall we start going down, going back to the plateau? There are other sources. Johns Hopkins source is one. There is another source called Worldometer. If you go to those sites, you will see they have data. WHO sites also, they have data on all the other countries. Now, what will be actionable insight with, let's say, US data, Brazil data, some of the European data, and Indian data? If you put all these data side by side, you will see that most of the European countries, UK is one, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, of course, they started early, much earlier than when we started, and they are past their highest peak. They have come down and reached a low volume. Now, actionable insight from that for us will be to project when we can understand when shall we reach the peak, and for how long shall we stay there before we can see a perceptible downward trend. So this is going to be the insight. We will not be able to stop the pandemic. What is actionable for us? Of course, the number of ventilators, to prepare more and more hospitals, both government and private hospitals, for COVID patients, at the same time to ask them not to turn away other patients. When can we think of going back to quote unquote normal, even though what's going to be normal after this pandemic is a very big question mark. So this is the data is being collected. Through that data, we know what is going to be the pressure on our healthcare system. And the data was there when the migratory workers started going back to their villages and towns. The data was staring at your face. So, what we are seeing today, when we went into lockdown, the number of new cases was 100, and at the end of the lockdown, the number of new cases is past 1200. The data was there. Unfortunately, the tools were not applied to understand what information it was hiding inside it. The short answer to your question will be depending on what business the startups are looking at. Everybody has suffered. Everybody. You cannot name anybody who has not suffered. Depending on how the startups can use the information that is there. For example, if you want to produce ventilators, and I think there are some startups who have who are in the process of producing low cost ventilators. Those startups will do well. But if you go for something else which only in a normal time people can think of buying, that startups probably will not do very well. My favorite tool is R. Okay, since I come from a statistics background, Tableau was not available, Python was not available when I started applying these tools. But um, Tableau is a very, very powerful tool for visualization and data visualization. Data visualization itself is a very good analytics tool. Just by being innovative and by looking at the data, you can understand many things that are in the data. Um, and there are many others. SQL is very good, very powerful for maintaining database. So are many other tools. So it will all depend on who you are, where is your comfort level, and what you can do best. I think that will be the end of today's talk. Thank you so much for coming here and participating. Goodbye now.